Hey, what do you know? This is the Melvin Live show, and let me just get this straight. You see, because I use this same setup for my daughter's online piano classes, and so this entire setup itself, it's like really well utilized because it's not just me using it. It's the family using it. My kids use it. I use it to film their music videos. I use it to film their school projects, and of course, I use it to film my son's award-winning video. If you haven't checked it out, if you haven't seen that, make sure you check it out. Right. So, uh, how's everybody doing? Today it's Monday, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break away from the format that I have been doing for the last couple of weeks itself. And the reason why I want to do that is because right now, at this point in time, I'm actually going through a process whereby I'm learning from a group of people in the aspect of how to start a profitable newsletter, right? So as we all probably know, I mean, people can talk about social media. It's the place to sell and all that stuff, but truth of the matter is that, especially on Facebook, for example, if you ain't got no ads, you ain't got no sale, right? So that's just the way it goes. Because I mean, from your own network itself, there's just so much you could get. So, if you want to go beyond that network itself and you're relying on Facebook to show it organically to other people, you're going to wait a long time. So the only way that you can actually accelerate that process is through ads itself, through a sponsor post, through a campaign that you design and you artfully craft it out so that you are able to get the thing going itself, right? So now, so that being said, I'm in the process of learning that, and I'm also in the process of executing that. In case you didn't know, I launched, or rather, I relaunched my newsletter on my website, which is melvin.me. And the newsletter went out live yesterday. I was so excited. At the same time, I was quite nervous because I was like, oh man, I just hope no one say that it's a spam complaint. Because rightfully, anybody who is on the list itself are people who have actually opted into the website. So there shouldn't be a complaint. But lo and behold, I did get one spam complaint from the people that I emailed out to. So I guess, well, it's probably part and parcel of this entire process itself. So I want to share with you the thought process as well as the way, the methodology, and the technique that I've been learning from these guys in terms of how to create a profitable newsletter. Now, if you're wondering who are these guys, right? These guys are the ones that I talked about a couple of weeks back when I went and deconstruct the flywheel, which is the unemployable initiative, right? So the unemployable initiative was what I deconstructed, and from there, that's how I got to know them. And so right now, I'm in the process of diving deep into the entire concept itself, learning and refining the way that I've been putting out my newsletter. Right. So that's what I want to share with you from Monday to Saturday. The entire series have been planned out. So make sure you stay tuned. And if you haven't already subscribed, now's the time to hit the subscribe button or to follow me on Facebook, and you will get notified whenever I go live. Now, with that said, let's get into today's session itself. So today's session, in fact, is the genesis of the entire process itself, right? So if we go back to what we call first principles, and how do you go back to first principles? Actually, one of the best way to do that is to use the five whys method, right? The five whys, meaning when you give an answer, you would actually ask yourself why it's that important, or why did that occur. So you are supposed to ask yourself up to five times, because by then you would actually be able to drill down into what we call first principles. So let's start with the whole process itself. Let's start with, why do you want to start an email newsletter, right? What is the purpose? Why do you want to start an email newsletter? I mean, if you are watching now and if you are also looking to start, make sure you leave it, your comments, you leave your reasons in the comments itself. Now, let me share with you what were my reasons. Now, my reasons was very simple. I want to demonstrate that by leveraging technology and by creating digital assets, we, as a one person business, it's able to generate $1 million in revenue annually. And all this is done via a digital platform, right? So you, of course, you as a lone person, like for example, if you are a insurance agent or you are a property agent, that is possible for you to earn $1 million a year, or maybe even more. But for someone who is actually selling digital products itself, or someone who is actually speaking, for that person to be able to earn $1 million a year, as I mentioned previously, monthly you are looking at a revenue or income of 83 over $1,000, and that is every single month, right? So for the most part, for most people, that one person, 1 million annual revenue is probably a pipe dream. And I can attest to that, because when I first started out as an independent consultant, even though I had two people working with me, we never cracked the $1 million mark. However, during those days, and because of the nature of the work that I have defined didn't allow me to scale to that level, because simply I just couldn't clone myself. Now, the truth of the matter is that now with technology, and also now with a lot of people are more willing to embrace, the virtual platform itself, this has opened up a huge amount of opportunity. And, the time is right for our picking. And that's why I am starting this newsletter. So the purpose of the newsletter essentially is to share with people what I call the three models. The first model is what I call the mental model. I firmly believe that the way that we see the world, and the less wrong we are in seeing the world and understanding how the world operates, the better we are able to see that, the less less wrong we are able to see that, the closer we are able to achieve whatever goals that we have set out to achieve, right? So the first one is the mental model. Second one is actually the business model, which means what is it that you are going to give in exchange for money, right? What is it that you're going to give in exchange for money? And I'm leveraging my know-how, I'm leveraging my expertise, my skill sets, my experience, and the depth of knowledge that I have in the field of creating online courses and creating engaging online courses that sells. That is what I am sharing with you in terms of the business model. That so there are many things, there are many layers that we need to unpeel, right? That we need to peel off. And so that is the business model. Essentially, the business model is what would you do in exchange for money? And then, of course, the third one is the revenue model. Now, a lot of time people are confused between the business model and the revenue model. They think that they are synonymous. The truth of the matter is that these two are very, very different. If you watch the video that I did yesterday, you would understand that when it comes to revenue model, that is at the top layer. That is the financial bit, right? How do you earn money? But when you talked about the the business model, essentially it's what is it that you make so that you can exchange it for money. So those are two very different things. So the third one, it's actually the revenue model. So what I do in the course of my week itself is that I would learn fast. Now, what is learn fast? Now, learn fast is I will learn something relating to mental model, business model, revenue model. That's what I would do, right? Now, I learn it, but learning it is just one thing. The more important thing is that I'm able to apply it and I'm able to share with you what worked and what doesn't work, right? So the word fast actually stands for focus, apply, synthesize, and teach. So in the course of the day, I will read up on a lot of things and I will learn a lot of things, right? I set aside time, which we will talk about tomorrow, right? I will set aside time to learn about where the industry is going. And then once I learn about that, I will focus on a particular area that I either have the strength, the network, or the expertise, or is an area that I want to learn more of. So, for example, live streaming, right? Live streaming. I read about live streaming. I read about how the world is opening up in terms of getting people to be able to communicate in this, in this medium itself. And you better be comfortable with speaking to just the camera and still displaying that level of enthusiasm, right? So I learned about that now, but there's so many things to learn about, right? In terms of live streaming, what aspect of it do I want to focus on? So for me, I want to focus on how can I use live streaming to teach, right? To teach. And so that's my focus now. I will apply it, which is what exactly I'm doing now. And then I'll synthesize it with my existing knowledge. So this is where I would say that, well, I know a thing or two about creating online courses. Let's match these two together and see what comes out of it. And it's usually through this synthesis itself, taking the new knowledge that I've learned and the existing knowledge that I have and putting them together. It is this synthesis that creates what I call new knowledge. And then with this new knowledge, this is where I then start teaching you. So learn that fast is the process, it's the framework that I use, right? So what I want to do is in the course of a day, I would learn fast and then With that itself, I would then want to be able to pick up within that weight itself what are the best ideas, resources, or concepts that I've put in place that have worked or have not worked, and I want to share with you. And so that is the main reason why I created the newsletter. Now you may say, so why do you want to share with people? Right? Why is it that you want to share with people what exactly you're doing? Why? I mean, is there a reason? Can you make money out of just sharing with people? Well, the answer to that question is I want to share with people because I believe, and that is backed by psychologies, that is backed by psychological studies as well. And I also believe that when we are going through this journey itself, we may not be aware that either there is a problem or that there is a solution. So, for instance, you may now be watching, and prior to this, you may not know that actually there are people who are just one man, one person, and they are able to generate a $1 million business and do everything digitally. Wow, I didn't know that. And so then now, I've opened up a a a gap for you. And in that gap itself, that is where you say that, wow, this is where I'm at, and this is where I want to get to, right? And so that tension, that gap itself is the problem. Now, the other thing is then, of course, once you have identified this gap, the next part is, so how do we close this gap? What are the things that we do? And of course, there are many options, right? There are options where you can go and found a startup, and through the startup itself, you can get investor money and you can do all that stuff, or you can hire a bunch of people, or put together a group of people, start a business together and venture together, right? But that's not what we want, because the idea behind what we are looking at is essentially to have that LIFT freedom, right? To have the freedom to operate from anywhere at any time, and yet be able to do something that we love and be handsomely rewarded. That is the that is the end goal itself. So how do we get there? So my proposition, my theory, my thesis, and my demonstration is I've been developing training programs, courses for many, many years now. And so what I can really, really do is that I have transferred that skill into creating online courses. And now I'm at this point where I'm just waiting to scale that part of it. And once I'm able to scale that part of it, I will then be able to achieve that milestone. So the reason why I'm sharing all this with people, it's because I want people to recognize that there is a possibility and there is something that they might be missing out, that they didn't think that it was possible, right? And so that's the reason for the newsletter. And why is it important for people to know that? Well, it's important for people to know that because now when people have that recognize the part that there is a gap, the next part really is they then start searching for solution. And when they start searching for solution, and if they were to Google or they were to do a search, and everywhere they turn, they're going to see my articles, my videos, my interviews, everywhere they turn. Inevitably or invariably, they are going to see me as some kind of an authority, right? And of course, I am an authority because I am demonstrating what I'm doing, and I'm being transparent at all. At I'm being transparent with everything that I'm doing, right? So if you have got a question, there's something that you want to know, make sure you leave it in the comment itself. So I want to share with people that there is a gap, that there is a possibility, and the possibility to do that it's to create online courses, but not the way that you know about online courses, because the way that you and I have been exposed to online learning, that aspect of it is pretty much broken. Why? Because A, it's either not engaging, or you will need a great deal of motivation to want to work towards completing it. And lo and behold, even if you complete it, will you actually get the results? Now that becomes questionable. So if it is, if it's not well designed to be engaging, if the entire learning experience it's worse than going to school, and yet at the same time, at the end of it, you don't even get the results, you can imagine how pissed you would be, right? So what I'm proposing is the way that we know about online learning, it's broken. And in the past, we can brush that aside because it was more out of the adoption of online learning was more out of innovation and sort of tapping into what technology it's available. But right now, it is a matter of necessity, and if it's a matter of necessity, it means that going forward, people are probably going to say that, well, I'm done with face to face, right? I'm only going to send my people for face to face if it's going to be high value add. Otherwise, they can do it via a virtual platform, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous, that's something that they would do. And truth be told, I mean, it's going to just make a lot of economic sense, because from the way that we have been conducting online learning itself, it's far different from what other people have done. And so the point I want to make here is that when you come and subscribe to this newsletter, you realize that there is a gap, there is a possibility that you can achieve this. And then you realize that there is a solution, but the solution itself is not what you thought it would be. And that's where you want to know more. And if you want to know more, that is where I'm able to exchange my expertise for money with you, right? It's an exchange of energy. And in the whole process itself, we want to be able to be the definitive source where people are able to create online learning the way it should be, right? So, over the course of next couple of weeks itself, I will also be sharing with you some testimonials in terms of how I've been conducting online courses and how it has greatly benefited people, and what people say about the way that I conduct online learning itself. So, understanding the psychology of why people buy things, right? And what is it that is going to drive them to want to buy things? I think that it's really, really crucial. So going forward, the the exercise that I want you to do, the task that I want you to do is the following. Now, let's split it into two groups of people, right? So the first group of people are people who have an existing group of customers. You have existing customers. What I want you to do is to go back to the customers and start asking them, what is it that motivated you to want to do business with me? And what is it that motivated you to buy this solution from me? And you will be surprised what the answers will be. You may presuppose that I already know the answer. I've been in business for more than 10, 14 years. I know why people are buying from me. But the reason why people buy from you on day one and people buy from you right now, the reasons would have changed. So the key thing here is really to be able to find out what exactly is it that these people are looking out for, right? Because if you don't find out, By the time when they start leaving you, it's probably too late, right? So for those people who of you who have got for those of you who have got an existing customer, go and ask your customers, why is it that they buy from you? What drove them? What motivates them to want to buy from you? Now, for those of you who do not have an existing customer, or you're going into an absolutely new field like I am, right? I'm going into a field that I have no contacts, no network. And that's quite challenging itself. But in the process of the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be opening up to you to share with you what was my strategy, what worked, what didn't work, and where did I learn it from, and how you could implement that yourself as well. Right. And so for those of you who do not have an existing customer, if you recall 2 weeks back where we talked about understanding your audience, go through that process, right? Go through the process of connecting with people or watching from afar, observing what they are saying, what kind of questions are they asking, and from there try to infer what exactly are their challenges and what are the motivational factors to want to seek out and to pay for a solution, right? I tell you, this piece of work is going to be invaluable because if upstream you can get this right, downstream it's going to be a walk in the park. But mind you, if you skip this part, and many people skip this part, myself included, sometimes, right? Many people skip this part to their own peril because later on, as you implement and as you invest more time, effort, energy, resources into doing something that if had you had validated that, it would have told you that do not go there, right? So, my friends, I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, leave me a comment. Say yes in the comment. Say yes, it is helpful. And if you want more of this kind of videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And tomorrow, what we are going to be talking about would be what is the thing that you could do on a daily basis that is able to help you get ahead, right? And with that, I thank you so much for watching. And, you know, I'm exhausted. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.